Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this stupendous Saturday. And you're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. So, you must be having a good weekend. Yeah, I'm having a good weekend. I'm having a bit more of a chilled weekend today. But look, we do have some rather sombre news to discuss, which is breaking in Sydney right now. Now, you don't rarely sort of hear of these sort of things. This is a rarity. It's not like some of the places that we discuss where almost we start talking about true crime and the mentality is, oh no, not another one. This one is quite shocking. But let's get straight into it and look at the reports, as it's a sad situation. So this is what we've got. This is the Sydney stabbing later. So first picture of mother killed trying to save baby from a knifeman. Now, the mother who tried to save her baby after knifeman went on a killing spree in Sydney has been named as Ash Good. The 38-year-old died in hospital on Saturday evening after being stabbed in the attack at Bondi Junction Westfield Shopping Centre. A nine-month-old baby daughter is currently in hospital after she also received stab wounds. Good and experienced osteopath was walking through the centre when the attacker stabbed the baby in a pram before turning the weapon on her, the Australian Telegraph reported. She desperately tried to save her daughter's life by handing her to nearby strangers, eyewitnesses reported. She handed us the baby and said, "Please help, help," a witness told Channel 9 at the scene. She was bleeding from her head, her face, the baby was bleeding. The Sydney mother was rushed to St Vincent's Hospital in a critical condition but died soon after arriving. Her daughter is undergoing surgery at the Sydney's Children's Hospital where she remains in a serious condition. So this is the story. Look, so this is kind of the timeline. Here's what we know so far. 6 people were fatally stabbed by a knife-wielding suspect who was shot dead by a senior police officer. At least 8 people are being treated for their injuries at hospitals around Sydney, including the 9-month-old baby who we just spoke about. Authorities say the suspect is a 40-year-old man who acted alone but are waiting for formal identification. They say it's too early to speculate about his motivations. A senior female officer nearby to the scene was the first to respond and saw the suspect lunge at her before she shot him dead, police say. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and local authorities praised the hero police officer who confronted and shot the attacker, saying it could have been much worse if not for her actions. Westfield Bondi Junction will remain closed tomorrow and the investigation will be ongoing for a number of days, police say. And again, I talk about like this isn't something that you would expect to hear. And it says today's multiple stabbing incident where 6 people have died and several others were injured is a day being described by Australia's Prime Minister as a horrific act of violence. But mass killing events such as this one are rare in the country. For context, the country's deadliest mass shooting took place on the 28th of April 1996. In that incident, Martin Bryan, a lone gunman, killed 35 people at a cafe and tourist site at the former colonial prison of Port Arthur. He carried out the attack using military-style weapons he had bought without background checks. Following this deadly massacre, Australia tightened its gun laws. The country has had only a few mass shootings since 1996, including the murder-suicide of a family of 5 in 2014, and the deaths of 7 people, including 4 children, from gunshot wounds at a rural property in southwest Australia in 2018. In more recent history, in 2019, at least 4 people were killed in a shooting in Darwin. What do we know about the suspected attacker? As we heard earlier from Commissioner Karen Webb, the suspect in the attack today at the Westfield Shopping Centre was described as being a 40-year-old male who was known to police. An image appears to show the suspect at the shopping centre in Sydney, walking up an elevator carrying an unidentified object. So this is a picture of the guy here. It says an unidentified object. I think we all pretty much know what is going there. The same man is visible in other videos circulating on social media. There's everything else that we know about him. The male suspect was shot dead by a senior officer after he reportedly lunged at her, brandishing a knife. She then attempted CPR on the attacker, who later died, authorities say. Officers believe they have identified the attacker as a 40-year-old man, but were waiting to officially confirm his identity. If the man who is who they believe him to be, the police did not consider the motive to be terrorism. Webb says, "We are confident that there is no ongoing risk, and we are dealing with one person who is now deceased." Commissioner Webb has also said the specific weapon used in the attack has not been confirmed, police say. And then we've just got some things here. It was just beyond horrible. Couple hid out in a back room barricaded with dozens. Shoy Ghoshal from Sydney tells the BBC how she was at the Westfield shopping centre at Bondi Junction with her husband, Dabashi Chakrabarti, earlier today. Sorry, my friend, if I've mauled your name. When the attack started to unfold, she described how they were inside a store when it became clear something was wrong. Suddenly, we heard some people rushing inside the store. We thought a fire had broken out, but people were saying someone is stabbing rampantly, the 36-year-old says. We went into a back room, a storeroom, and used boxes to barricade ourselves in. She says, estimated that there were between 20 to 25 people huddling inside. An elderly woman was crying for her husband, who was still on the outside, she says, explaining how when the group made calls to the police, they relayed to them what was happening and told them to stay. They told them to stay there and stay calm. The group was later evacuated through the emergency exit of the mall, where they met up with the sight of a swarm of police cars. It was just beyond horrible. It plays on our mind, and you could have been one of the victims. We are grateful, we are safe, and our thoughts are with those who have suffered. It is terrible for their families. And yeah, they're just going on to say how it could have been much, much worse if it wasn't for the brave actions of the officer. One of the details that emerged from a press conference briefing earlier with New South Wales Police Commissioner Karen Webb was one about the brave officer who shot the attacker dead. She made a point of emphasising how the officer's actions directly prevented today's attack from being much worse. The senior officer, who has not been identified, was described as being enormously courageous. Webb said that the officer is doing well under the circumstances and that she is getting the attention she needs. The officer will be formally interviewed tomorrow. Shopkeepers and shoppers, the Commissioner has said, should also be praised for the bravery they displayed at the Westfield Centre. Footage from the busy shopping centre has been shown how some bystanders attempted to block off the attacker, while witnesses have described how shopkeepers acted quickly to lock their doors and help people hide. Many of the shopkeepers and people within the shopping centre showed amazing courage and bravery. So it was an awful situation, and no doubt people are dealing with the trauma of what they have witnessed, but it could have been much worse. And there you go. King Charles has stepped in and condemns the senseless attack and commends bravery of first responders. King Charles and Queen Camilla are commending the bravery of first responders, saying in today's senseless attack in Bondi, adding that the loved ones and families of those impacted by the incident are in their thoughts. My wife and I are utterly shocked and horrified to hear the tragic stabbing incident in Bondi, the King has said in a statement. Our hearts go out to the families of the loved ones who have been so brutally killed during such a senseless attack, he says. While details of these shocking circumstances are still emerging, our thoughts are also with those who were involved in the response, and we give thanks for the bravery of the first responders and emergency services. So that is where we are with it. Obviously, this is ongoing, this is emerging, there's still some details to come out. It says that it's not related to terrorism, but the perpetrator was known to police. So it will be interesting to see what transpires from that little nugget of information. But like I say, my heart goes out to everybody involved in that. Like I say, we don't often talk about things like this happening in Australia. Look, they're not completely devoid of things happening like we speak about on a daily basis, but certainly not to the extent that we have come to understand from the United States and other places, including the UK. For its size, we have our fair share too. But anyway, love you and leave you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I shall catch you all tomorrow in the live.